Welcome to episode 1 of Female Leadership Exposed. I'm Erica Brister, and today we are talking to two very talented women, and we're going to be talking about race and how that plays into how you operate, as well as a no victim zone in female leadership. We are exposing the truth and the facts of female leadership right here, right now. One of the things at US Pest that we do a lot of, and people find to have the culture can be a little daunting because we change so much. And I chalk that up to because we're in the people business, and we employ people, and we're always changing, and we're always trying to work out what that feels like, what that looks like in the workplace, so we don't have boxes that we put people in.
That's funny that you say that. That's how I treat my staff. They'll say, well, what do you think about? I'm like, well, if that works for y'all, let's do it.
Right.
You know, if that's how y'all want to do it, let's make that happen.
Right.
I don't care how y'all get it done, as long as it's working for you,
right,
and we're all getting to the end point. And
right.
I think as leaders, we have to remember that, I mean, I always tell people that my staff does not work for me for the money. Okay.
Right.
They work for me because they feel appreciated. They feel like they have a role. They feel like they are a part of taking care of our patients. They aren't just there for my bidding. And as leaders, we have to make sure that, just like what you're saying, you have to listen to what they're saying and take their information and take their advice and their ideas and turn that into something that can only grow you as a business and them. Yeah. I mean, I've had so much growth in my employees. I'm super proud. I mean, of my staff about how much they've changed over the 5 years, almost 6 that we've been open and going and succeeding. And they've just taken on new leadership roles because they say, hey, what do you think about? And I say, run with it. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's make that happen. And it's been really cool to watch.
And encouraging them not to quit to get to the finish line.
Right. I mean, and offering them the resources that they need to get there. I think that's a big part of it, is making sure, because I'm not worried about them taking my job. I mean, and even if I had another physician in there, all I can do is have somebody in there with me that helps and push him or her in the same direction. But it's really just about, they only make me better when they're better. So this is, like Kee was saying, you have to make sure that you're building other people up, because we're growing together as a family.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. To carry on this conversation here, I asked you guys to prepare at least one story
your homework
that helped you define how you lead as a woman. Which one of you would like to?
That's all you.
I'm asking. Okay. You can tell.
You've got a great story.
You haven't even heard it.
I love you, and I know your stories are all great. So
Okay.
This what makes us BFFs. Okay?
Oh my gosh. Anywho, okay, so this was kind of hard for me just thinking about a story, but when I looked at your word of define how I lead, I thought about a situation. So for me, my family, I've lived in 5 states. Originally California, then we moved I kind of called it a backwards migration, moved to Mississippi, and so when I was in Mississippi, I was in school, and one of the things in high school, the high school we went to is a very rural school. It was extremely black and white, and there was a lot of racial issues. So coming from California, I really didn't understand the whole racial issues situation, because it was a very melting pot for especially where we lived. And so then I get to this environment, and it's extremely black and white, and it was just very different. The particular school was one of those that the same parents had gone to the school, and it was etc. So long story short, we ended up having a teacher who, I don't know why or what, but something possessed her to make this comment and she said it in class, just out front, in front of everybody, that essentially that she didn't feel that the African American women in the class would amount to anything. And that's basically what she told us. And
how many?
There were about 5 of us. So at that point, it was like, whoa. I mean, she spoke this huge negative something into our lives at that point. So for me, it was, okay, this is a weird situation, because I think out of my class, I think I was maybe the only one that was in the honor section. So I wasn't always in the same classes with the other African American women in my class, but we knew each other. So at this point, it was kind of like she laid a challenge for me.
Right.
At that point, it was like, okay, here it is. So I had already taken the ACT once, but decided I wanted to take it again. For one, because it was the night of the homecoming, and I kind of slept through the science part. But I know, I kind of slept through. I'm just being open and honest. I kind of slept through the science part. That part was not exactly what I know. So anyway, so I said I'm going to take it again. So I talked to the other to the other girls and encouraged them, let's take the ACT, because they weren't going to take it.
Right.
So I was like, yes, let's take it. And I don't know why, but I told them, let's take it at a university. Because, you can select your location.
Right.
So the university that we decided to take it at was about 38 miles from where we lived. They didn't have transportation.
Your boyfriend went there.
Oh my gosh, he didn't. They didn't have a transportation or anything of that nature. And I said, and they were like, how are we going to get there? I was like, I got it. I'll get us there. And so I don't know why these
Leading
girls
in high
trusted
school
me.
already.
Right, that's right.
Anyway, I don't know why they trusted me, but they did. And so we signed up to take it 38 miles away.
Right.
So at this point, that morning, I went and picked up everybody. It was a taxi cab
other
situation.
5 girls.
There's
three of them.
girls.
So
Okay.
it would have been 5 of us total. So that meant 1 didn't go.
Okay.
So it was 4 of us, picked everybody up.
Okay.
We drove to that college campus and took the ACT that morning together. I also parked, I was intentional, parked far away so they could walk the campus.
Okay.
And we would go there. When we left there, we went to lunch, hung out, and then I took them to another college that I had gone to an enrichment program a few years before and spent the summer. And so I took them to that college too, for them to be able to see that campus. Introduced them to a couple of the administrators that I met in that program, that summer program. And we kind of went from there. And ironically, me and one of these girls we were actually talking about this story last night.
Oh, wow.
And so out of those girls, 2 of them applied and enrolled in the second college that we toured. We filled out the FAFSA together. Because I had help. So I knew, okay, I'm going to help you, because I'm getting help. I'm going to help you get through this. Because one of the girls, she shared, and she had never shared this with me until last night, but she said that when she got home, she told her grandmother, I want to go to college.
Wow.
And her grandma said, you ain't going to college, baby. We don't have money for that.
Right.
And she said she went in there and prayed and said, God, please let this happen for me.
Right.
We laugh now because she said she should have been a little bit more specific in our prayer life and said, Lord, please let it happen for free, so she didn't have student loan debt. But she was like, I should have been a little bit more diligent in saying, Lord, let's go for free. She was like, I know now in hindsight. But, she prayed that. But she said, that changed my life. She said, because I wasn't going to take it, I definitely wouldn't have went. But you pushed. And I said, I just can't believe y'all trusted me to go.
Right.
And what did that for me, and this is not like a glorified Kee story by no stretch, but it changed my concept of what leadership was.
Right.
For me, I thought as long as I make it, I had a tunnel vision of me focus, of me going to school, of my making it and going on.
Right.
But it changed my concept to say, no, I got to bring some other people too. And it changed me to say, no, I want to be selfless in my leadership and in my service. And so if I don't make it, that's still a failure.
Right.
And so for those girls to ultimately say, okay, yes. And we bypassed several locations. We could have taken the ACT that were way closer. But it was just getting to that point of saying, okay, no, we're going to get there. And I'm nothing if they don't make it too.
Right.
So especially because we were not going to let that woman's words have the victory.
Yes.
And I thank God for her now. I mean, she put me on a trajectory. She changed the trajectory of my whole leadership life.
Right.
And in terms of saying, no, this isn't about self. It's about others. It's about bringing other women to. It's about bringing other people to.
Yeah.
It's about giving myself away to the point of whatever I can do to help. Of course, I mean, I was struggling to find finances too.
Right.
I wasn't going to, and going through that mission process, but if I can help you in whatever way, I'm going to help you in that way of getting there. And one of those ladies has her master's. I mean, we ultimately continued to, go on where she didn't think she was going to college. The very one who grandma said, you're not going, has a master's degree and doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So for me, that story of someone saying you can't do something and you won't make it and you won't do anything was a challenge for us to say, oh yeah, watch us.
Right.
Watch me do it.
And you led that.
I did, and I don't know how, and I'm gonna say it was the Lord led it.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe we picked that school to go take it out, and they trusted me to do it, and I went and picked up everything. When we think about the story now, I'm like, 17 years old. What made me say, okay, this is
what we're doing?
No, she's not gonna count us out.
That's
and
right.
so for that point, it was just kind of this diligence, and what made me say, okay, we're gonna go to 2 campuses today,
right?
And I want you to meet who I know.
You gave them an experience.
And that's basically what it was, because one of the girls said, I never even factored that in for college for me.
Right.
Never did.
Right.
And so it ultimately ended up being a positive, or define my leadership experience to say, no, I can step up here.
Right.
And I can help.
So you embodied then that leadership is a condition, not a position, because
Absolutely.
you didn't have a special title in high school.
I didn't have a position at all. I did not have a title.
Yeah, the condition of leadership.
Right.
Somewhere.
Right.
That was in you.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it definitely, I was a nobody. I mean, I had I was on the same level.
Right.
I had no position.
You just said, we're gonna make it.
Right.
We're gonna make it.
And let's see let's show her how we do.
That's right. Because we're gonna make it.
Exactly.
That is awesome. That's a great story. And wow, that is definitely speaks to that it's not about the title that you have.
That is interesting that we both talked about how somebody put us in a box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
and to have a teacher speak it was huge. I was like, wow.
Right.
What gives us when you got dropout rates and all this, you really encourage those kids to come back to school the next day, or you really did not,
Yeah.
And her comment wasn't just that we weren't going to make it, and she made this comment, and my girlfriend last night really honed in on it, because your parents did it. She said so she spoke negatively about us and our families.
Wow.
So it was just this double, and so my girlfriend, she said, I had to break that generational curse. I was determined that generational curse was going to end at that point. And that was her motivation. For me, I was just the vehicle to let the Lord do what he was going to do with her. But it was just that breaking that generational curse that was so spoken over her and us by a teacher. Right,
that you're not going to amount to anything.
Exactly.
Is what she said.
Is basically what she said.
Wow. That's unbelievable. And amazing. And you definitely have overcome that and brought people with you.
Oh yeah.
That is beautiful.
And that part, I think that, like I said, in the way I look at that trait of deciding that, for me, I'm a kid. So I'm just thinking I just got to go my path and do for me. That was just my mindset. And it was at that point that I realized, no, I'm not just here for me. There's a bigger piece here.
Yeah.
And that bigger piece had, in whatever you can do, help that person.
Right.
So,
Dawn, do you have a story that you would like to tell about how
I don't know if there's one story specifically. I think I just, had that story about just growing up with, as a female, and I had to be that. I had to be a leader in my family, and the guys in my family were always very encouraging. My middle brother specifically, very, very protective of me. My older brother just bragged on me. I was going to be. To him, he told everybody I was going to be all kinds of things. He just bragged on me. And my middle brother was very protective, and I think for them to just they were perfect examples of how a woman should be treated from a man. That I wasn't just going to be put in a box. That they were very encouraging. One of them was my middle brother was a high school dropout. He wanted to do a specific way. He went and got his GED, and he wanted to do a specific trade. And so, but he was always super proud of me. I mean, wouldn't let anybody talk down about me, wouldn't let anybody come down on me, was always, both of them, my older brother's very encouraging, very supportive, and just taught me that, and all my cousins, always very proud of me, and kind of like lifted me up a little bit, a pedestal type. Being the only female, I think that was a part of why it was treated that way. But also, they included me in everything. Yeah. If they were going out, if it was 2-3 in the morning, we lived in East Tennessee in the backwoods in the middle of summer. We were going out riding down the road, dirt roads, But I was included in that. I wasn't excluded, and so that was they took me with them. But they also held me up and had high expectations for me, and did not allow me to think less of myself because I was a female. So I think my family truly helped mold where I've gotten, and I also just took that and ran with it. And I think that if we let people, like Kee's teacher, if we let people tell us who we are. And like I said, this all goes back to what I always say, looking in God's mirror makes a big difference. If we let people, if we look in our own mirror and we even tell ourselves, this is who I am,
right,
that's a lie. And that's what evil wants you to believe. And those generational curses could definitely sit on both of us. We both have generational curses that could have ruined our lives, but we haven't. We've called those off of us, and we've denounced them, and so we've allowed ourselves to lead. And then by encouraging other women in the same way, it goes on to how we've encouraged other women. And I was thinking when you said that about how it's funny how, the joke that women got to go to the bathroom together, we can't do anything without each other. But I think that when you look at really successful women and you look at the people they surround themselves with, and we love to be surrounded with other, that's probably why we're such close friends. We love to be surrounded with each other's successes. We celebrate each other's successes. And when you have a role where you're celebrating each other as opposed to trying to dog bite each other or exactly, or knock them down, it's a miserable place. Misery may love company, but success loves company more. How about that group of women that we were all together, 200 women a few weeks ago, all celebrating women who've impacted the community? We've been nominated for that. We've given that award. It's just to be able to look at that and say somebody is, we don't do it to have somebody pay attention.
Right.
But somebody is paying attention.
Right.
And so it's important that we know that people are paying attention, and that women who might come up to us and say, like you, who come up to us and say, hey, let's talk about this more.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to what you're doing. Let's talk about that's important, because yesterday I went to the Tennessee Achieves meeting. Do you know what the Tennessee Achieves program is?
What is it?
So Tennessee Promise is a scholarship program that the state of Tennessee has allowed for all.
State?
It's actually for all high school seniors qualify to get free money to go toward all community colleges in the state of Tennessee, some four-year colleges, and all the TCAP colleges.
Yeah.
So this is an incredible program, but they need mentors. They need lots of mentors.
Okay.
And so I'm a mentor for the Tennessee Achieves program, and I sat down with my students yesterday. Was our first meeting, and just to get to know them. And one of them wants to be a worship leader, and she wants to be a worship leader. And one of my guys wants to work in cybersecurity, and one of the other girls wants to be a trauma surgeon. So, and I know people in each of those industries.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm able to say, I'm going to hook you up with this person, and I'm going to hook you up with this. And their little high school eyes were like, oh, that is so thank you. But I think that's what we're required. If we've achieved a level of success in our leadership, that we're required to give back to these kids. So, that they have that encouragement that you didn't get, that you didn't have somebody. So being a mentor is hugely important to be able to pour into them and say, hey, I know somebody, and I'm going to hook you up with them and let you meet them and encourage you to follow your dreams and to go in that direction.
Yeah.
And that's critical, because even in the story that I gave, I had sisters. So my older sisters had gone to college.
Lots of sisters.
So, yes, I have lots of sisters.
How many sisters?
I have 8.
Oh, wow.
And so all girls, no boys.
Oh, man.
And so
all boys, no girls.
Right.
Yeah, even our dog was a girl. Even our dog was a girl. So for me, I had someone pouring into me. My mom was pouring into me. My sisters were pouring into me. I had someone pouring into me. Those other girls all were the oldest girls in their family. So they didn't have that wisdom necessarily coming down. And that's one of the things I thought was critical. And just kind of piggybacking off of what Dawn said, I'm a firm believer that iron sharpens iron. So for me, I do try to surround myself with women that will help me be a better mother, a better woman, a better sister, a better daughter, a better wife, a better lawyer, a better community leader. So to me, it definitely is surrounding yourself with good stock. And I tell people all the time, if you've got that person in your life that either when you hang up the phone or you leave them, you feel drained, you feel like you need to go to bed, or that you need to drink or something, let that relationship go.
Right.
At this point, it's not healthy for you.
Drama.
Right. At this point, that part is, and whether that's male or female.
Right.
No, that's not a healthy relationship for you. Right. If you feel sadder after you have been with your friend, you got to make a change there.
Right.
And so, and I don't believe that you always, should just aim up. I think you have friends that are up, but I'm always trying to lift somebody too. I'm always trying to lift someone.
One of the things that was interesting, yesterday I had a conversation with a general manager of ours that is male. It doesn't matter, but he's a male, and he was telling me that one of the things that he's learning is when he's managing these men is that they're the younger, the early 20s men, that he is having to hold them accountable to having a clean shaved face every day and have a tie on, because that's what separates out U.S. Pest from being unique. We're clean shaven and we are professional and we wear ties. And he has been with me for 12 years, but he's been in management for about a year now, and he realized just yesterday that the appreciation that these young men have, and that the attention he's having to teach them where to buy razors, how to shave without getting razor burn, how to tie a tie. He didn't realize no one actually knew how to tie a tie until yesterday. And so there's the attention that they're getting, that from a leadership role, because he's in a leadership role too, that sometimes the basics of life can be given to you, which is what you guys are speaking to, can be given to you through a good leader. And that's in management and in leadership. What I teach our management team is that management and leadership, it's not just about the business. Like, you have the opportunity to affect someone's life and make them a better person in business and in life. So there's opportunities for you to affect them, and that
Absolutely.
sounds like what you all are both very focused on, which is great, because I know you guys have heard, with a rising tide all boats rise with it.
Absolutely.
It's the same concept. Like, we just want everyone to grow around us, and that's a good sign of leadership. So to this, the other point here is, was there a trait about yourself that you were maybe born with, or that you noticed about yourself that you had to change or accommodate in order to fulfill where you're at professionally?
I think for me, coming from a large family, that it shaped the level of leader that I would be, because there are times in family where you take charge, there are times in the family where you lay back. And so for me, it was knowing when to step up and when not to. And I think that was one of the things that was really crucial for me in terms of saying, okay, yes, you know, my husband will tell you the trait he loves the most about me is my selflessness, the fact that I'm giving in to a fault. But he'll tell you the trait he hates the most about me is that I'm selfless and I'm giving to a fault. So sometimes my gift is my curse. And so for me, it's realizing that pro bono work isn't a good business model. It's realizing that helping people often, you know, that you can help people, but you often have to help you. Because sometimes as women, and I find that we put ourselves last. You know, we're busy as wives, as mothers, as daughters, as workers, and oftentimes ourselves and what we need and our interests go last. So it's being able to be selfless and giving, and also keeping yourself healthy and strong too. It's kind of like when you're on the airplane and they tell you when the mask drops down, secure yours first before you secure your child. And you know, I had somebody say, that doesn't make sense. Yes, because if you passed out, your kid's going to be passed out too. So if you're good, you can help that person. So it's really just pouring into yourself too, and giving, you know, making yourself stronger so you can continue to help others. And I think that's one thing for me, is realizing how to channel my selfless trait, how to channel it to be productive in all arenas as well as for myself.
That's a great example. Do you have one, Dawn?
When I was a teenager, I had a custom license plate. You don't know?
No, I don't.
Uh-oh, y'all learn a lot about each other.
I knew your story, by the way. We've talked about that. It said, I'm right. I am RIGHT. Does that surprise you?
Not at all.
That's right. So I think that is my, that's one that I've really watched in myself grow and change. I have a tendency to bowl people over and just take charge and just do it. And just, you know, because I can do it, and I can do it this way and that the right way, and I'm just going to get it done. My husband is amazing. He He's super creative. He's very think outside the box. He is a giver of all givers. You call him right now and you say, I need XYZ, and he'll be here in a few minutes, wouldn't he? But he does things absolutely different than me. And it's something I had to teach myself and my mother when we first got married. And I learned to say, just because he does it different doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
And that is something that I've had to grow, that I have changed and grown with, is that I went from thinking my way is always the right way, always the way to be. And my staff will laugh if they hear this, because I'm sure they'll say she's still that way.
I know your staff.
Yeah, they will laugh. Yes, they laugh at us both. But that's just because somebody does it different doesn't make it wrong. But we have to figure out how to. That's my trait of being got the right way to get there. Let's just go from A to B. And sometimes my A to B is ridiculous, and I'm looking at my husband's, and it makes so much more sense.
Right.
Because that's just, we're just different people. And so just being right all the time or having all the right answers has always been something that's been a trait that's in me. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But I've seen it grow over the years especially as I've gotten into leadership, to where it's like, okay, here's why I think I'm right. Let's talk about it, and then let me listen to you, though.
Right.
So it's
and
it's
really
also,
listen.
Right, and taking a step back and saying, okay, I can't actually say you've got it recording, so we're good.
Right.
I'm not always right.
All right.
I know.
We've had a breakthrough.
I know. Mark your calendars.
Well, this has been a great hour and a half with both of you ladies. I have a huge amount of respect for each of you, and I really appreciate both of you coming today
thank you for inviting
to discuss this, because it is an important topic to me. One of the traits that I have a little story to tell real quick about, because you inspired me about it, to remember it, even though it's pivotal for me, was when I was in college, one of the traits, I'm very creative. I was just born a creative person, and I'm very inquisitive, and I want to know, ask a lot of questions. That's just how I am. And so I went to college. I went to Emerson up in Boston, and when I went to Emerson, I realized that there wasn't any black people at Emerson. And so I started asking, why are there no black people at Emerson? I thought I was coming to like the North, progressive North, where where everything is different and better than the South, right? So they directed me to, well, I think you probably need to talk to, because everybody was very uncomfortable with that question.
Oh, yeah.
As you can imagine. And I didn't even realize what I was asking. I just was really curious about why there was no black people. But what they directed me to was, I think you need to talk to the Campus Center for Diversity. I was like, oh, we have one of those? And by the way,
what diversity?
What is diversity? Because it was like 12 years ago when diversity was becoming a thing. And it was basically a closet with a black man in it. And I was like...
You found it.
Right. I was like, hi, my name is Erica, and I was told to come talk to you about why there are no black people at this college. And what developed out of that, he was a super nice man, and he would
probably have the same question.
Right. Just started that same semester as me. And we founded this Campus Conversations on Race. And so I became trained in how to have really difficult conversations, very and open and honest conversations. And that shaped me from my trait of being inquisitive and being curious and being creative, because it developed a nationwide conversation that is still happening to this day. I think it's called something differently, but I got to sit around a table of other kids and the only black man at the college at the time, I guess, and talk about different backgrounds, about race, about different opinions, and it was okay. Yeah. It took a taboo conversation and turned it into something really productive. And at the same school, I had and what it also taught me, like probably about 3 years later at the same school, I had a black professor say something to me that I wasn't smart, that I was just Southern and nosy, and that America, and that America was not a melting pot. It was more like a stew, because if it was a melting pot, Black people would have more flavor. And this is at Emerson.
It's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So where he was teaching our whole class, full of, white kids, that we were not a melting pot, right? And that the Black race was superior to white, right? Even though 3 years prior to that, we had founded a campus conversations on race. So the defining trait for me with that was that I was going to continue to be inquisitive, and that being Southern does not mean that you're just nosy, and that you can be smart and you can be not giving up. And so it trained me how to have those difficult conversations, but also that professor showed me that it's not just, it's going to continue. Like those opinions, everyone's going to have an opinion, and everyone has an outlook, and and it's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay that he feels that way. It was okay that I felt that way. It's just, but we all sat there and didn't say anything. And so today in my line of work and as a president and CEO, I continue to have tough conversations and continue to not run from them, and continue to have those conversations and help build communities around them where it's okay to be different. Who said it earlier that it was different?
Just because you do it different doesn't make it wrong.
Right. Yeah. And that's 100% what that is. So, I love this conversation, and I appreciate you guys. It's not an easy conversation to have as being a female leadership, and to come up to the microphone like you guys have done today, and really been exposed with who you are and how you lead. So I appreciate both of you. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to this hour and a half to cap it off?
No, I think this is, first of all, I just want to thank you for doing this. Not just inviting us, but also for just doing this. I think women need to hear from other women, for one, about things that are paramount to them. Sometimes we just need to hear that encouragement. You need to hear that somebody's had a struggle. You need to hear that somebody's been through something, because you can grow from that. So I want to thank you so much for just embracing this this concept and taking on this task of empowering women in leadership. And I definitely applaud your efforts there. And just, I think for us is just women just continuing, just keep going, just keep doing. Just one foot in front of the other.
Because we're going to make it.
Absolutely. And do it well.
That's right.
I feel a song coming on.
Oh, yeah.
And be cute while we do it.
That's right. We can be cute while we do it. That's right.
Well, good deal. Anything else?
Oh, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys. That's a wrap.